lot to do, so we'll get started. Hi, Steve. Thank you.
All right, Alan.
You you made the quorum, and I'll never forget when they had a town meeting in Warwick. They needed 25, and they're waiting around. I walked in the door, and I made 25, and everyone started clapping, and I felt so embarrassed. Like, what is going on here? Okay, so you
Deb,
are recording now.
here comes Deb Bote.
Perfect. Greg, are you recording?
Yes.
Okay. So good evening. Welcome to this remote meeting of the Six-Town Regional Planning Board being held on Thursday, January 15th. And we do have a quorum. And so according with the House Bill 62 of the 194 general courts, all the votes that we have are going to be taken by roll call. I will do attendance. Please just say present or here. So Greg
Here.
and Alan Genovese is here. Pat Shira is here. Okay. You could say here. And then Raina,
Present.
Jane, thank you. Karen
Here.
and Dorinda Bell up.
Here.
And Steve
I'm here.
and Deborah Pote.
Here.
We also have, I think, Karen Kelly from Berniston. Is that who that is, right? Yes.
It's Kelly Sykes.
Oh, Kelly. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. And so Kelly is our representative from Irving. And Kelly, I'd like to talk to you later on about something, maybe after the meeting, if possible. You could shoot me your number or vice versa. I'm going to follow up something with you. And so she is our
Excuse me. I got a notice at the bottom of my screen that AI was taking notes for her.
Yeah. Yeah. We already we brought that to the attention and Alan said it was okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and thank you for putting that out, Karen, because with that said, as using AI a couple times, it needs to be edited. You can't just run with it and think it was correct. So then we have Mike Jackson, and we have, do I have everybody?
That's it.
All right. So let's just get to it. So I want to start with the letter, and I don't know if you want to put it up, Ray, or people can have it in front of them, but to the select board, because that provides a really good overview and it's going to save us time, I believe, in the long run, because it covers some topics and I won't have to get into as much detail. And we can also maybe approve doing that because there's a couple asks in there. So, oops, you get the right one. And by the way, as I hit each paragraph, if someone has some corrections, this would be a good time to do it. Or actually, maybe, yeah. All right. So the first part was just and we'll be talking more about this, but we've been meeting with Desi and we're getting close to being finished. So we're getting down to the home stretch. Each time I think we're having a meeting, we're going to finish. We don't, but I expect within the next meeting or two, we will have a final document. The long range plan, they had looked at the original and we had along the way, we've been making a lot of edits. So that will be that's what you have now, but it's not complete. So I was thinking, depending on how it goes tonight, if we could maybe agree, other than grammar and stuff like that, on the content of it, we can get that back to Desi and then finish up the other questions they have, and then we could approve maybe part two. But I'm really want to try to move things along as quickly as possible. The ballot question, thanks to our town officials, the select boards did send requests out to see if our representatives could be working on that. I think we got a little bit of an optimistic message because it looks like there's a possibility. It looked like, amending, as we said, the law takes a long time and home rule petition takes probably even longer. So Senator Comerford started pursuing this and talked to the Senate Council, and that message came back that because it involves more than one town And it's a regional, their take was it could be filed through legislation to allow for a ballot question. And Representative Suzanne Whips was gracious enough to uh, ask the House Counsel if they concurred. And if they do, then I think that'll be filed and then we'll go through that process. In the letter, it kind of lays out, it's a pretty long process. And so at some point when we get a handle on if it is permissible to go that route, then we'll look at what the timeline would be for that possibility of having it voted in all the towns. And then we'll have to make a decision on, do we want to move the goalpost a little bit to have a ballot vote in all the towns, or do we want to make a decision to go with what we have? So I think input from the select boards and input from you when we get more information about when we think that timeline would be. Transitional funding clarification. When I think I explained that pretty well, but the bottom line is that just doing the long range plan and putting that together and all the components of it, I had this epiphany, which wasn't exactly correct on, gee, we will, the legislative session is going to be starting and we're going to need 1.9 million. In my mind, I was thinking transition, but it was actually correct. And the 1.9 for the operational budget, which is in the first year of the district. In another section, it had the transitional number. So I used the wrong number. So I alerted our representatives, put a communication to Representative Whips because it would have to start in the House, and asked her if she could put in $250,000 for transitional in the House budget. If that makes it in, then it would go to the Senate and then, follow through that process. So I guess the good news is, although the planning, the long range plan was correct, the amount that I had quoted was not. So that's been adjusted. There's going to be discussion later on about how that might impact the regional agreement, and maybe your thinking and our thinking will change. We're having a commercial. Okay, then the big one I want to really get some information from select boards and to make sure that you are solid about this is the 5-town and 6-town proposal, regional agreement proposal. It appears that the legislation, the law allows us to have more than one regional agreement. And if the thinking was that if all this work went into it and 5 of the towns voted to support this and the municipal town, Warwick, did not, right now the whole thing would fail. But if Warwick had one regional agreement to vote on, that's the 6 towns. And if the remaining 5 towns had 2 options, they could vote on the 6 and the 5. They vote on the 6 and all 6 towns pass. That's what we have. If they vote on the 6 and the 5, then we actually would have a 5-town regional agreement approved. We've already done the assessments and we've shared those. And I talked to Mars and I've looked at the regional agreement and have put so much time into that. I think it's a pretty heavy lift after we finally finish up with Desi to remove all the references to Warwick and have that approved pretty quickly.
I mean, it's not a heavy lift.
Not a heavy lift.
Yeah, you said a heavy lift. It's
I'm sorry. My mind. So not a heavy lift, if you think about it. I think one of the things we talk about is one of the towns could get an additional vote and have 3. So we can talk about that later. I had talked to the attorney about that possibility. And so before I go too much further with the attorney, I want to get your feedback and then the select board's feedback on whether or not they would like us to also present a 5-town regional agreement. in the spring. So we'll pick that up in a few minutes. So let's go back to where are the corrections you'd like to see or what's missing? Karen, or I can't see anybody, so just talk, okay?
You're on mute, Karen.
Oh, how do you see her?
I can see her. She's in the side here.
Yeah,
Oh.
okay. On the ballot question section, second
Yep.
line, the voting should take place at the polls, not the pools.
So poll, oh, that didn't get fixed. Okay, polls. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. That might be nice to do on the side of the pool.
we don't have a pool.
We don't have one either, so
Oh.
that would be a no vote from Bernardson.
Yeah. Oh, lots of things we don't have. Okay, that was it for me.
Jane?
Yep, that was the one I saw.
Yep,
All right. Do you think there's any
I mean,
content?
there might be some
Yeah.
right.
minor little things that could be improved on, but
Okay.
that was the glaring error that stuck out.
There is another one.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
This is the sentence it's later on about the Abrahams group.
Yes.
You have the planning board had the Abrahams group recently calculated the assessments.
Oh,
It
it should be
isn't
calculate.
calculated, it's calculate.
Correct. Calculates. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bill, is that Bill Toom? Did he join us?
Yeah.
It is. It took me a while to figure out I was using the wrong computer.
Okay, great. So let the record show in our minutes that Bill Toom has joined the meeting.
Well, see, Cliff has also joined.
Say that again.
Cliff has also joined.
Who?
Cliff Spatcher.
Oh,
He represents Montague.
Montague. Yeah.
yeah, no.
Yeah, I found my way here.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, that's great because this is a lot of things that we have to hit.
Oh, here it
So
is.
that-
Recently count.
Take off the D.
There it is. I was just trying to find the sentence. Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's pause on the letter a minute. Is there anyone that would like to speak for not supporting going forward in asking the select boards if they would like to have us do a regional agreement for the 5 towns?
So Alan, this is Raina. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around, we would have two ballot questions for 5 of the towns and 1 ballot question for 6 of the towns.
For just one town. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well-
Yeah, for the Warwick would have the 1 ballot question,
Correct.
6 towns. But 5 of the towns would have 2 different questions that they would have to vote on. That seems a little confusing. And what happens if they both pass? So it just seems like it's
If they pass in all,
it could potentially be very messy.
well, if they pass in all 6 towns, then you have a 6-town regional agreement. If it passes so everyone of the 5 towns vote for it, you have a 5-town agreement.
Well,
Now,
if it passes in all 6 towns, it passes as a 6-town. If
Correct.
Warwick votes it down and it passes in all 5 towns,
Correct.
it's a 5-town agreement, but it would still have to pass in all 5 towns.
right.
Yeah. No, I just you didn't really state it that way. You got to clarify it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
If it doesn't pass in, I mean, there could be an instance where,
Greg,
yeah. Anyways, but
let's
let's
just
leave
keep
there.
it. Yeah, let's just keep
that's
it simple.
basically it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I tried to, in the cover, not get into the weeds in terms of, Raina, I don't know the best way that this should be done. It needs to be done in a clear way, to your point, that's not confusing. And this is a conversation with the attorney of how best should this be handled. But I don't want to be getting the attorney involved to craft this and think about how that should be until I know that this has the support of the planning board. So I'm hearing it does, because I didn't hear anyone object. So we'll send a letter out to have something from the select boards that say, yes, we'd like to do it. We'd like you to also have this as an option. Feedback I have had verbally has been very positive,
Mhm.
but I can't hang my hat on verbal. I want something in writing.
Yeah, I think there's a recognition that it started with two districts, regional districts, and Warwick was in it, and there's this sort of acknowledgement that when Warwick stepped out, I think that was sort of a contentious exit from the Pioneer district. So there's concern over that, and um, so it's just sort of acknowledging that history, I think.
Yeah.
I would like to say that by the time we got all the paperwork done, there was no contentiousness that I saw because I was involved in that.
Well, if you speak to people in Warwick, they're still, not, they're not happy with how things went, and so,
Some people.
yeah, yeah.
Some people.
I think that's the concern. There's been
Yeah.
a concern, so I'm not necessarily disagreeing with it. I just think it depends on who you speak with.
Well, just from a, I don't know, a logistical point of view, if that were to happen and Warwick didn't vote against it, things are very much simplified because now you have two regional school districts coming together. And it doesn't have this odd element that's took a lot of time to also fold in a municipal school district.
Hmm.
So I'm going to send the letter out. If you think of anything that needs to be included in it, just shoot me an email so I can think about that. But it's the content, the concept around this, and it's also the information so that we make sure that they're in the loop, because we have to continually, at least I have to continually remind myself, we're doing this on their behalf. So we need to make sure that they know what we're doing and keep them informed. So back to the agenda. Do we have minutes?
Can I add something
Yeah.
too on that in terms of a comment that I agree that it's very awkward to be sending two different, seemingly conflicting statements, because you can take a negative side of it, for example, by saying, well, why don't you then have a choice of only four of the towns if another town doesn't want to participate at all? But complicating it is the fact that I think Warwick put in a lot of, not only was the disappointment with the Pioneer situation and the closing of their schools, but then your town put in an awful lot of effort to establish a new local district, which is where the three districts come from. And honestly, I think it would be better. And that is part of the argument now from coming from Warwick that we have heard,
Oh,
that we just set up this district and now you want to dismantle it again. So it's the kind of thing that creates anxiety rather than creating relaxation in terms of getting this thing accomplished. And that's how I mean, that's the conflict that I have is I think Irving could, I mean, I'm sorry, I think Warwick could easily be the equivalent of Irving, just choosing to tuition in and back out of this whole thing and make it only a 5 town now, which is also awkward because you are the chair of this committee and live in Warwick. So our initial construct has been changed because of some of the actions that have taken place in Warwick around home rule. And I think that needs to be considered. And I just worry that come town meeting, this is going to create a lot of extra explanation, which is not necessarily detrimental, but it's also not necessarily helpful. And thank you. That's what I wanted to add.
So a couple quick comments and then we'll move on. So I don't disagree with anything you said about in the rewrite of the long range plan. I addressed that, Bill, and talked about, because remember, I was chair of the school committee, the first chair of the school committee for the first 2 years, wrote a policy that school committee chair shouldn't be there more than 3 years. So I'm just on the board this year. And I helped in the educational plan and getting that as a school. My objective was it needs to be a school in order to be part of a 6-town regional school district. I think that it's going to attract a lot of school choice kids, but and that would be a nice avenue to then go into this new district. The problem I have, and I pointed this out, we did have a vote. 4 voted, not to support this. I was the lone dissenting vote, and I was very clear why. When I look forward to the town supporting that on their own, I don't think they can do it. I don't think it's sustainable, and I think it would thrive and continue to thrive. It's thriving now to continue to thrive in a 6-town regional school district. So that's an interesting point. If I heard that from select boards, obviously I would not be your chair or be voting. I could help to be a non-paid project manager or something to just finish the process. I mean, I'm doing this because I want to do what's right for all the kids in the district. So, or what I believe is the right thing. So,
Hey,
This
Alan,
isn't
anyone want to
this isn't
comment
a
on Bill?
personal statement. I'm not
yeah,
making a personal attempt at anything. I think that ultimately, it's more an argument of just saying have one ballot question, period.
well, I would like to just chime in quickly because you didn't answer one of Bill's comments or is kind of a question, which is, um, Bill, the reason why you can't then break it off and just saying, well, why not 4 out of the 5 or 3 out of the 5 is because these are discrete districts. So there's 2 municipal districts and one municipal district, 2 regional districts. So if the whole reason was the municipal district is separate. You can't go down a road of carving up Gil Montague and Pioneer into different towns. I mean, that's a whole different thing because you have to dissolve those districts, and so it has to be a unanimous vote. So it would have to be unanimous in the 5 towns for those 2 districts to form. Otherwise, it doesn't form. You can't just start, throwing out more and more regional agreements to see if you want to vote on them. So the reason why this is simplified is because it is a municipal district.
Yes.
Does that help answer the question? Because I mean, people do bring that up, and it's like you can't do it because there's 3 districts here. And if you subtract out the municipal district, that actually simplifies things because so that ballot question that only Warwick would vote on, which is the 6, and the others would say, okay, well, if Warwick doesn't vote, you can still combine these 2 districts because they're 2 districts. You can't just start mixing and matching towns.
I understand that, and I agree with you totally on it, but I am pointing out the kind of exception in terms of questions that I anticipate you might hear, having been in town
Yeah, sure.
meeting for 40 years.
Okay, I just wanted to throw it out in the public meeting so that it was, it's out there so that it has been discussed and that's the reasoning behind it. So,
Bill, would you do me a
yeah,
favor?
thanks.
Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill, would you do me a favor, Bill? Could you send me either an email or text message so I can move this along? But I want to capture that as a question so that in our page that is going to have questions and answers that we address that.
Just why can't it be more than just one? Oh, yeah,
Well, think
Give you
about,
what I
you
can
might have two
remember.
or three questions, but get me those questions, okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, let's try to move this along. So you can take that off the screen. I finished it at 2 o'clock last night.
Hmm.
I can't believe I only missed the word pool. All right, so it would be interesting to see when we have a meeting with the commissioner that Senator Comerford is trying to arrange, what his, we really want to know, is he supporting this? Make sure he understands what regionalization is and what we're trying to do. So I am looking forward to reporting back to you how that meeting went. We had a meeting yesterday, which we'll go over that in a few minutes with Desi. Let's see, on the next part of the agenda, so that's covered. The 250,000, you saw that, what that resulted from, as going back to the long range plan and revising it and talking to Mars and Mac Reed and people that have move this along. They talked about, you could have existing people that have paid a stipend to help on that. You don't need, in this part of it, a special education director. There is actually a thing that Desi has on Here's What You Need. And so that's what we have, only what we need. And it's just recommended. It's not like you must. So that's how it got whittled down to 250,000. We need legal services to negotiate contracts and some key people to help the transitional school committee. So by approving the long range plan as we move along, then you're okay with that amount and what that's for. I'd like to hit the regional agreement next. So Greg, can you put that up? So what I did was I went back to the original one we had, and then there have been so many renditions of this, iterations of this over time, that I took the most recent one that was done on yesterday with Desi and Mars. And then after the changes that were made, I asked him to try to include those in what you were sent. Greg, did this one go out again after I got it late this afternoon? Probably not, right?
No.
Okay.
This is the one Jay sent us today.
All right.
For-
And I had another thing from him at 5:49 tonight, but I haven't had a chance to see what else he had. So let's just go through this. If you could put it up, and I will.
Already up. Yeah.
All right. So go to, so the content's the same. Page 3 is the same. Page 4, there aren't any changes. Page 5, if you pause there. So that was just a being consistent in the whole document. Keep going. Page 6 is that 6?
5.
This is 5, but you've got some green here. So
Yeah, that was I think that was just a that's a formatting
okay.
number thing. However, on the next one, the 2 that was there format, that was a formatting thing. So this is so I'm looking at B leases. Do you have to scroll down or up?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you had it. Go.
Right there.
Well, do you want the green? Is that what you're looking
No,
for?
go down. Scroll. Do I say no? Go the other way then. Scroll up. Thank you. Right there.
Yeah, that's one I had just had on there. So
Yeah. So what they were trying to do is clarify, and they put in member towns because that wasn't there, and they wanted to be sure, for clarification, it was including Warwick. So now go down further to that green, and the that part there is being removed.
Is it?
Where's my glasses?
He's deleting it. He says, member towns may negotiate their respective shares of the cost.
Shall be appointed on the basis of,
Apportioned.
Yeah, it says he deleted the member towns may negotiate the respective shares of the cost and
Yeah.
must have replaced it with this. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, two member towns and students. All right, so what this was about is Desi asked, well, how are you going to do that if you have, like, let's say Leiden students going to Berniston,
Right.
Which they
And-
do.
Yeah.
which they do, and I don't know what they're doing right now.
Yes, they
And-
are.
But I know that they're there. And they
Mhm.
said, and what happens if there's other things like that. So we thought the best way to handle that, it was the cost will be apportioned by the enrollment from the respective towns.
Mhm.
So we kept that simple. Next one.
Is Jay recommending that the towns are you saying they deleted that the member towns will decide this on their own, and for that you substituted the enrollment
Correct.
phrase? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, we had a long conversation and thought that's the cleanest way to do it.
Too bad you didn't ask us.
Pardon? Oh,
Too bad you didn't ask Bernardson and Biden.
what? How are they doing it now?
With love.
Okay.
We didn't think of that one. That's a good one.
Oh, should have asked us. Yeah, no kidding. So this section is the blue is new. We spent meeting after meeting going over school closure and what that would
Mhm.
look like. So, I mean, you can see the strikeout. You can't see the strikeouts. I can. So I'll give you a chance to read it. So the theme throughout this is, can you scroll down?
No.
Oh, I guess scroll up. Thank you. Is it set in place specific things that have to happen? And they need to, have a report, and the report has to be done in a timely manner. They can't do it and then, it just sits around forever. So I don't know. I feel like I know this by heart because we went over and over and over and changed it a zillion times. This seemed like the fairest way to do this. It's a high bar, but the feeling is that once they do the study, and then if it comes back again, then the procedures is a little different. The bar isn't quite as high, but at that point, it's the feeling is it should be pretty obvious to anyone looking at the data that this is the right thing to do. I had conversations with different people in Warwick about comfort level because, of course, they're still not happy that their school was closed. The clarification, you'll see things underlined that talks about members of the full committee. They wanted to be sure, but I was talking about language that would say, of its membership, because that's what's included when you're trying to pass a budget. It's the membership that's actually filling the positions. They felt this was better, and so that's the intent of that. It's the full committee. whether they're sitting at the table or not sitting at the table, in order to get the 2/3. And then we put in a date that when it would be, and that would be June 30th of the following fiscal year, so all that planning could be done. And then you have another option on page 10. Keep going.
Mhm.
This is option B. So we had a 2/3 majority vote. Again, 2/3 vote of the full committee. 2/3. So that's the common theme. And then we had the June 30th of the fiscal year after the vote. So we tried to put a much more a clearer requirement for the vote and a timeline that once the vote was taken, that there was adequate time to prepare for.
You roll back. Can you roll back? Greg, right there.
Yeah.
Okay, and the school will close on June 30th of the second fiscal year after the vote.
Yes.
So you got 2 full years that this building will remain open, plus the rest of this year. No, this year counts as the first fiscal year. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Required 2/3.
Whispering.
Not a good time to be playing with a dog. I don't know if you can hear all that noise.
Well, they demand attention when they demand it.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So,
mine will be in here wanting to sit up and watch the screen with me.
if it's a cat, it's going to be whacking at it. Karen's cat is probably sitting in her lap.
No,
So we
not now.
So we really spent a lot of time trying to really have the bar correct, have the timeline correct, and then have a smoother transition. We all set on that?
Um,
Some of this language should be similar, should be familiar to you, Jane, from the Heart Committee. I don't know what Pioneer ended up with doing theirs.
Should I move down to keep going?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
budget section? Okay.
All right.
Doesn't look like anything changed.
So nothing on page 13 or 14 or 15. I'm not surprised since we spent so much time.
Yeah.
And remember, we had brought it back and we looked
Well,
at
here's
it.
page 13. We've got some green here, but is it?
What page 13?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because
portion of capital and
debt costs. Yeah, we went over this quite a few times.
I don't see the green. Is that the portion?
You need to be looking at our screen.
I know, but I have notes on each one of these.
Yeah.
So I want to look at my notes. What's the caption? Apportionment of capital costs?
Yeah.
Because I've gone through this, so
Yeah, we put the capital debt costs under 20,000 instead of 10, but that was a Dross decision.
all right. Well, I don't know if I have a different page number, but
Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. This is pretty common.
that
and
language on the capital.
What's that?
That language, apportioned on the basis of enrollment in the building, raises some interesting questions. You have choice students. You have town students. You have the second town students. You have choice students. You have kids whose parents are paying the tuition.
Or another state that's paying the tuition.
That's all pretty common though, Jane. I
Yeah.
mean, that's usually you try to set your tuition rate, to cover that. I
I'm
mean,
not talking about setting the tuition rate. I'm talking about the cost shall be apportioned on the basis of enrollment in the building.
Right. I think, Jane, and you got a good point there, but I think there's the sentence that says, in the event that students from more than one member town, to me, implies that they are kids from our towns and
Right.
not other towns
Mm.
or not tuition. They're
That's-
from,
So the enrollment in this case is only going to be, let's stick with Bernardston and Leiden. It's only going to count Bernardston and Leiden students, and you're going to call that 100%.
correct. Those
You're
two
going to
populations.
ignore
Yeah.
the 10 school choice students that are there.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
because they're not from the town.
Not from the town, so they're not member towns. We can't assess non-member towns.
So I think that
I
covers
think
it. Jane.
maybe am I correct in saying I think this is how Gil Montague does it, Bill? I'm pretty sure, right? Or is it it's not, is it foundation enrollment or is it in-seat?
I don't believe it's based on, capital improvements aren't based on which
Oh.
town kids came from. Up through now, I believe it's just on the town of Gill to maintain their
Well,
building.
but
Right, and
for the regional building, because for the regional building, there's an assessment that's done by the
Yeah, 5-year rolling average.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, but the individual elementary schools,
Yeah, no, I know that.
Yeah,
But I'm
I'm
just saying in
sorry.
terms of how to allocate when you're allocating according to, assessments according to enrollment for,
Yes.
let's say, the regional building. Is it, I'm trying to remember if it's foundation enrollment or is it in-seat?
I would think it might be based on the actual students in the building.
I would think it is too. I mean, that makes more sense to me, but I'm just, just
Yeah.
checking.
So I have a question. If the merger takes place, who owns the buildings that are used for middle school and high school?
No one.
No one?
No, they're owned by the districts. They just get the assets just get transferred. There's no like paying off of anything. That's just not how it works.
Okay. Got it.
Yep.
Which is why the special legislation is filed,
Yeah, that's why
because
that's
individual districts can't transfer their own property. It has to be done
right.
in buildings.
And the buildings in the elementary school buildings are owned by the towns, and that's why the district leases them.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, we ready to go on?
Yeah.
All right, I don't have anything. Go ahead. Moving on to the next page. I don't have anything under transportation. I have, you probably don't see this in your copy, but I see, keep going. Yeah, they added the word. If the committee, let's see, in the committee, yep. So is this section 4? Is mine starting on the wrong
Section 7,
section?
8.
So we did transportation 8. Nothing there. And 9. And 10. Now on 10.
That's not on the screen.
Well, you added a C section to the
Yeah.
committee. Yeah.
Yeah, it says, yeah, there's a, can you scroll so I can see A? Thank you. From Dan, everyone, I need to, so, okay, Dorinda had to go. So at the bottom of that, the committee has the option of using the method. Oh, so there are 2 statutory methods. So this was just making clear because they had them tied together and it was confusing. So they separated it out.
Okay.
Yep. The next one. That's why I don't know if you could see in your copy, but it was crossed out further up.
Mhm.
I see not even 9 on 10. On 10A, let's see, B, they added the word committee. So that was just an addition of that word. And they added, if the amendment is initiated by the committee. Is that underlined there?
That's in B.
Yes, it is, Alan.
Okay. Okay. And then go to,
Section 11A, procedure.
yeah. So they are removing that because they'll reformat it. They're 1, 2, but basically the 1 is gone and it's replaced with a wording that starts with a majority vote. That's the language that's going to be there instead of the green that is being removed. And that's it on that. The next one. So a lot of this language now is clarification language and being consistent language. That's why the district sometimes was capitalized, sometimes it wasn't capitalized, sometimes it wasn't
Yeah.
clear. So they just went through and this was a tidy up
Yeah.
section. Now we're going to get into section 13. Yeah, there was nothing really on that one. So this one,
Mm.
show us as much as you can. Okay. So here's the deal on this one. When I was pulling the wrong number in my epiphany on the ride home and thought I needed 1.9 and made the call like, geez, we're going to let our legislators know. That just seemed like a huge number. And,
It is.
we couldn't have it contingent on
No.
on so we needed contingency in the language that this is contingent upon getting the funding.
Mhm.
Going back and realizing I was pulling the wrong number and then redoing the not only the capital costs, because I looked at the first year and made adjustments to that. And then I made adjustments to the transition. And when you look at the long range plan, you'll see that's why it's 250,000.
Right.
So having that, so the language we had before was thinking, okay, let's see if we can do this in 2 parts. And all that language that you see in green was a conversation of trying to say, maybe we can get the money in 2 budget cycles, 125,000 in one in the other. When would we need it by? And we spent a lot of time on what the timeline would be and who's making the decision. And we probably spent 3 meetings trying to figure this out in different different methods. So this, you're only seeing the method that we finally said, okay, let's go with this. And then when we had our meeting with Desi yesterday, we read this over again and decided we didn't like it again after all this work. Because we thought it's so messy trying to figure this out that everyone except me, I was the loner, but I was convinced after listening to all the conversation we had that we should just remove the language contingent upon funding. And we would have to make it clear that we will be looking for $250,000 through our legislations, through potentially Greg came up with an idea of if the towns voted this, the towns could ask the districts that have E&D to just put 125,000 each to this, and that would be the money we need. So there are other options. So we didn't want the whole thing to go because of that. So the conversation that we need to have is, are you okay with we just take out that the warrant article that was already approved by Desi, but that our attorney did, does not have contingent upon funding. So when I had the conversation with the attorney about, having it in there, he would say, well, how much funding? What do you need it by? And then that's why it started making into this. And
Yeah,
so I'm going to back off. You want to talk, Greg, about?
yeah, I would just say that having a contingency clause in a regional agreement for transition on contingent on funding is, I don't think is common, because it is so messy. I know people ask about that, but 250,000 actually is when you're thinking about across 6 towns for what you're going to be saving over the long period through, your central office efficiencies, is not a lot of money for 6 towns. And if one of the reasons I mentioned E&D was if there's a regionalization, both districts have to be dissolved through the legislature. And so you have accounts for E&D that is basically like free cash. And that's really the town's money. Um, so, I was thinking, why are we continuing to try and find this at the state level? We can still continue to advocate. I think it would be nice if the state kicked in. But why is it on the backs of the town when if these districts were going to be dissolved and formed into a new district, there's E&D money that seems very appropriate for helping to form a new district for the education of the same students that we have. So that was, I mean, I understand what E&D is traditionally for, but again, for a regional district that's being dissolved, it doesn't seem like it's an inappropriate ask of the towns to say, hey, why are we trying to fund this in addition? Because you're going to have those funds eventually going to transfer to the new district anyways. So to have some of that go towards transition makes, to me, makes very, very good sense. So, I'm open. I mean, I know that E&D is often used for emergency, reasons or backfilling budgets and all that. But again, you're dissolving 2 districts. So, that is sort of in a sense, often it's rare that districts run, deficient. They often, understand that in their budgeting process and try to make sure they have some room in their E&D. So, I mean, it may not be all of it, covering all of it. It could be a combination of asking for some of the E&D back to cover the transition expenses. Maybe some of free cash in the towns can be appropriated. But, for something 250 is not a large ask for 6 towns, for something as important as this. That's sort of my thinking in this.
So what are we looking at here? What's the wording that you're suggesting be in this document?
Just
Well,
strike, I say strike anything contingent on funding because one, that what happens, you have the townspeople vote. Let's say they vote for it and they truly want to regionalize. And then who makes the decision? on whether there's enough funding. I mean, who makes that decision? And the townspeople have already, the residents have already voted, and they voted to regionalize. How does that work out?
Yeah.
Then come back to them saying, "Oh, well, sorry, the funding didn't work out. So sorry."
Yeah.
I mean
So
that.
Jane, to
Well,
your
it's not
question,
just, I understand all that, but I'm reading this and I'm seeing dates in here
right?
Well,
that I
that's
don't
yeah.
think
These would
are
be
practical.
that'd be struck. Just
Yeah, the
strike
whole
out.
point of this, Jane, was to just show how much we struggle with trying to figure out how this could work. And in the end, yesterday, we said that's we're going to take it back to the planning board because Desi, Mars, uh, and Greg felt strongly we shouldn't have it. And checking with Jake Eberwein up in the Berkshires, they didn't have it in theirs. Because and the other thing is I really want our legislators to be serious about this and championing this. And I would like to see the commissioner be advocating, and we've got to get, I think, some buy-in from other parts, from other legislators in the state to say, yeah, this is one alternative and it's a good one in certain situations, contiguous towns and so forth, uh, in order to improve the education of kids and by increasing the enrollments in the schools,
Right.
particularly
And I,
middle.
I would say 1.9 was a that was a non-starter, which is
That's
why, I questioned it all, a lot of us were kind of scratching our heads on that. And that's why we went back and visited it. And really good news that we caught it, because that really is great news that it's only 250, because that is not something that's beyond the capacity of, with what the districts have in E&D and what the towns could potentially afford. It's not as heavy of a lift, and I would certainly hope that the state would kick in. But
So Jane, we would just rewrite this whole thing, and then we could bring back, if we approve the general thing, we should bring back this section once we, so because I'm trying to get Desi to just move this along and be done. And I said, we're going to bring it to them and we will have a conversation about it. We'll get approval on the sections that we've all agreed on. And if the planning board agrees to it, now let's handle the few items that are up in the air. And this is one of them. So it would be worded that, like the warrant article, there's nothing in there contingent upon funding.
So can I ask then, what kind of, is there, I thought there would be some financial support from the beginning. I thought there would be some financial support during the transition period. And so what is the state's stake in this? Besides, they have less paperwork because it's one district.
Well, we're going to find that out, what the state's stake is going to be in this, because as we asked Representative Whips to put this in the House budget,
Mhm.
and let's see if they understand why and get support, and then it will be in the Senate, and we'll let it go through that process. We'll have a conversation with the commissioner. I really want to know, does he support, this kind of approach to this? So this is this is important.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and again, I agree the state should be supporting this. Unfortunately, the DESI's appropriation went away, so that it's not in their budget. I don't know if you've been, following along, but on DOR, you're seeing there's no ENR grants right now. I mean, the state has cut $1 billion out of their budget. So, I looking at a $250,000 transition cost, let's just say we split it evenly across 6 towns, which would not be the case. That you're talking 42,000 change for each town, but that wouldn't be the case. I mean, that is not the same as asking for 1.9 across 6 towns. So,
Right.
I mean, that's a very big difference right there. And I'm glad we caught it. These are part of the things that go on. That's why you have so many eyes on these things. But that is not a heavy lift. I mean, when you ask Gil for a $40,000 debt exclusion, it's not like we're like, oh my gosh, we'll never, that's not the position of the town for something of that amount. So, I see this as, yes, we have to continue to advocate at the state level and say, look, it would be fair to have them support us, but this is not out of the realm at this point. It's not something that's a non-starter, 250. So, especially when you consider the funds of the districts themselves.
So so Karen, the other thing is, there is a thing if the district's formed, there's a law that has, they call it bonus aid. And so you get $50 per student of foundation the first year, and 40,
75,
30, and
actually.
20
Isn't
down
it
to 10.
Isn't it 75 the first year?
No, it's not. I looked
Okay.
the law up. So it's 50 the first year and 40 the second. So that's I did put numbers down when I sent that to the senators to bring to their attention that, we would hope that since this is on the books, that this would get funded. And I sent a thing out to Rob. I asked somebody about how this would work, and they said it would be baked into the formula for the new district. You form a new regional district. This then becomes part of the additional aid that goes into the district to help in its first 5 years.
But did you ever get an answer on the whole harmless situation?
What was the question? Because I got the answers. I don't know which
Well,
question.
I mean, if we were both in hold harmless before joining together, would we still be? Or would we be starting all over again?
Let me think.
Because I know that was something that you were going to look into and
And
see.
I did. I
Uh-huh.
did.
Yeah, according to Desi, we would still be in hold harmless because of the just when you run it through the chapter 70, even though you can't really take a baseline because the idea was that we were hoping that we would maintain the same amount of funding. That I think that's the crucial question, which is if are they going to recalculate it and start us at a lower number? And the answer to that was no, that they would hold harmless on that. And that's the important thing because we wouldn't lose. They're going to hold us harmless from the two districts and where they were. And then in terms of that combined amount of Chapter 70, they are not going to decrease it when they redo the formula with the new district. And that's huge because we thought we were going to lose like, $1 million to $2 million. And they said, no.
That would be
It's-
a no-brainer not to do it.
Well,
Right.
not necessarily. That's not how, but that's not the way to think about it again. I think people are really not really understanding how assessments work and how expanding your tax base from, I mean, you only have like 5,000 people in the Pioneer District. You add, Gilmonte, you now have 15 to 16,000 people in a larger district, which that's a much larger tax base to spread cost out over. So, I think people really have to really think carefully about what increasing the tax base and economies of scale and financial matters really means. So,
Yes, but when you are already paying the maximum amount toward your foundation because of your high property values and high income values in your tiny town, it makes a big difference.
yeah, but that's the whole reason to regionalize, though. That's the whole reason to regionalize because you're now spreading the cost over a much greater tax base.
Which is why assessments go
Yeah.
down.
But
Yeah, it's a difference between average and marginal cost. I mean, that's not, in terms of economics. So marginal cost is, you're expanding it. So your marginal cost dramatically drops, which then decreases your average cost across the entire tax base. That's why new growth impacts your town levy in the way it does. This often confusing. People often confuse average cost of of a town with marginal costs, and it's a really bad mistake.
All right, I want to get back on track here. So the gist here that I'm hoping to go forward with is that we're going to remove contingent upon funding. And we'll write some language that is pretty probably standard in these districts that are forming. Ours was an anomaly because we were trying to do something different that had never been done before in this, and it became a legal quagmire as well as a logistical nightmare. So, the good news is it's been significantly reduced, and it it it's obtainable. We just have to explain it. Which section are we on?
We're moving down to page, what are we in here? 20. So this is still in the transition period.
I don't know. I'm
I
on.
think it's the composition of the school committee of the transitional one.
Yeah, I think you're right, Karen. I think down here there's a sentence here, transitional school committee leaving the
Which
member.
section, please, so I can look at my notes that I've been
Again,
writing.
it's section 13, transition
Section,
period,
yep,
and we are in
Still in A.
still in A.
yep.
At the very bottom, a joint meeting of the select board and the local or regional committee from that member town will appoint a replacement for the current local or regional committee.
Yeah, so that was all before there was language that the school committee decided who their members are going to be. Select board, by the way, on here should be one word. It's not. We'll have to fix that. As I'm looking at that. But the gist behind this is this is going to be done with the remaining school committee members and the select board. They have a joint meeting and they decide on who's doing that temporary position until elections. Which is a change because before it was a vote, the school committee was taking care of that.
Hmm.
So that
This is just the transitional committee we're talking about here.
that is
Right,
correct.
Yeah,
for
right.
appointments, yeah.
That is correct. Before we had the transitional committee all decided by the respective school committees.
Okay.
Might not even be someone on the school committee.
Well, and part of that was just, the towns, I think we've heard from the towns that the towns themselves, that they wanted some
Yeah, they didn't
agency.
like what we had.
So that's fine.
Which one you on now?
So now it's below that. We're going to section B or C, actually, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, subsection C, elections of officers. If there's anything in there.
Yeah, well, we struck out. I don't know. I don't see this highlight, but there was I see it if you move down more.
Oh, yeah, because there was a timing issue, they shall serve until the next election.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Mm,
then remove the part about in the event that the funds majority, removed all that out.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, and that was just the timing because what if
Yeah.
what if it's going to be longer than a year till
Yeah.
the next election?
and then the powers of the superintendent period starting July 1, 2080, 28 for the new district.
Yeah, we had to change
And
that.
then we were trying to be very clear about at the bottom. Are we on I'm on at E1. Are you there?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Right there.
Yeah, right there, right there. So this was no new regional projects for district-owned buildings. So this basically said if towns are doing work on their elementary schools, they can continue to do whatever that work is. But this is saying if this is passed, there'd be no new building projects in the region. So that would be the Pioneer Building. Is Hillcrest and Sheffield, are those all owned by the town of Montague?
Yes.
Okay. because we didn't want to interfere with anything that is,
No, yeah,
in
the elementary
progress.
school, so they can keep moving on with the MSBA. I mean, we don't really have any regional, but neither regional building is in the MSBA queue anyways.
all right, and then I'm on termination of transition period. There we put in elected and we put in the date, midnight, June 30th, and then we added, so for purposes of staggering the terms of the permanent regional school district committee, only the following will apply in regard to the member towns and their elected representatives in the 2028 biennial election.
So wait a second. You're terminating the transition
Yeah,
on June 30th, and then you're going to have an election of a permanent
yeah.
district committee in November.
What happens in between?
July, August, September, October, and
Yeah, let me look at that here.
It may,
The termination of the period elected. The transition period.
my guess is the transitional school committee. Is the transitional school committee going to continue until the elections because they were appointed?
Yes,
And they will take
that's the
over?
intent. So if
Yeah.
this is not clear on that, that needs to change. The
Well, I
intent
think
says
is,
that
it may say that in the transition period will end as the transition period ends, which means you institute the new superintendent that was chosen by the
Right.
transition committee. They oversee that until the elections of the new officers, and then the new officers, the new school committee members then take
well,
over.
that paragraph isn't clear.
Okay.
I'm
I agree.
sorry.
I agree, Jane.
Yeah, no,
Very
it's
odd.
it's a good catch. I mean,
Yeah.
it just needs to be clarified that
Yeah,
that's
I
what.
agree. I'm going to flag that. Yeah, yeah. The intent
Yeah.
is exactly what Greg said,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
it's
what's
not
interesting,
clear.
I thought we went, it's funny because we went over this, and I think it's one of those moments again where there were so many strike throughs and stuff that I'm not sure it actually
Well, and you
captured.
guys know what you have in your head, and it doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily
yeah.
appear on
Oh,
paper.
oh, trust me, Michelle and Christine point out everything. They catch everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, but
This hasn't even
yeah.
gone to legal yet, so that's the next step.
Yeah, but they know they've been around a long time and they've
Oh
done a
yeah.
lot of these. They did 3 regional agreements before they got in us in the queue, and we spent over 2 hours with them. And then when we left them, they were going into another one.
All right, let's keep going here. So
All
we'll
right.
clean that up.
And so now we're on the last page, right?
Good, yeah.
And so this is self-explanatory. And the new operating district should not become part. Da, 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 da. We have we're striking out the Warwick School District. School buildings, real property, because they wouldn't be doing a transfer. They own their own buildings. They're not part of that. And then the transition period on June 30th, this agreement shall terminate if the conditions aren't met. And we didn't have in this section contingent upon funding. I was talking to the lawyer about how would that work, and the nightmare to all the related things to that go away.
Mhm.
So that's
Yeah,
it.
I'm not even sure it would be legal, to be honest, to have it contingent on funding for what, came up in the last meeting. I just,
I don't want to go there.
I know
We
what,
already talked about it.
I know. I'm not sure it'd be
Wait,
legal.
we got other things to do that are really important.
Well, as long as
I'm
we're all,
not understanding that paragraph either.
Which one? The
The
Special,
special legislation.
It's the end of it I don't understand.
well, the special legislation is just something that has to happen to dissolve and reform reform the district.
yeah, they
Mhm.
know that.
So, yeah, I mean, what part of it,
So
for
if it
some reason,
doesn't
if it shouldn't
happen,
happen, which I don't want, there's no reason why it wouldn't.
right.
right. But
Yeah.
if it didn't happen, then the districts continue operating as they did.
Right. It's just they have to put that in there just for, what happens if, you know,
Yep.
our state dissolves because our federal government doesn't like it anymore or something like that, you know, I mean.
Oh, it could happen, yeah.
So, it's all I'm just hypothetical.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
was
this is
thinking,
required because you have to have a
Yeah, you have to have a
fallback.
clause that says that they just
Yeah.
continue.
Greg, I was thinking, if there's World War III, none
Oh,
of this applies.
that's right. You can pretty much, none of this applies.
Well, if we all lose our voting rights, it's not going to apply anyway.
That's
Isn't that the
true.
truth?
It's a
Mm.
scary time.
Very.
So
Yeah, I
I,
guess now that I've been able to read it all the way through, I think I understand what you're saying.
Well, it's
Mhm.
hard to read, Jane, because you got all these little strike throughs and colors and
Yeah.
everything else going on.
Exactly. And then somebody moves it when I get almost to the end.
oh, that gives me a vertigo when that happens.
I can take a hint. I'm sorry.
So I would be looking for a motion to approve this as amended with the understanding that we're going to bring back the sections the two major ones that we caught that haven't been finalized, so that we focus on those the next time we get together.
I will make a motion that we accept this with the amendments, with the understanding, with the recommended changes that have come up in this meeting.
Mm.
To
I'll
be
second
approved
it.
at a future meeting.
Oh, yeah, not the whole thing is approved. Yeah, not yet.
Okay.
Did you get my second?
Thank
Greg?
you. I appreciate that.
Okay, we can
So we
take this
can
off the
take it off
screen.
the screen. And
Okay.
so let me be clear on understanding the motion. The motion is to approve this as amended with the understanding that we have several sections that are not complete, and we'll bring those back.
A few sections. Several sounds like
Yeah,
more.
a few. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it
Okay.
remains a draft.
Pardon?
It remains a draft rather than the final.
Yeah, and the reason is
Wow.
that Desi wanted us to bring this before the board, and we thought it was a good idea too, because we had made so many changes to at least, get your input, show what's been amended, because there's a lot of work that went into it. We got a little bit of things left to do. We also wanted to get your input on the transition funding, and it seems like everybody is okay with.
All right, let's
striking it
go
out.
for a vote,
So, yeah.
and then we can
Well,
go to
this is just more deliberation, so I just want to throw that in there. So,
yeah. So because
yeah.
we got to look at the
Got it.
long range plan. So um I'll do a roll call vote. Some people have left. Jane,
Yes.
Jane and Gray,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Karen O'Neill,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Clifford.
Yes.
Cliff's still here. Okay, great. Dorinda.
Not here.
Yeah, Dorinda left. Oh yeah, she left. Thank you. And Raina had to leave. Deb.
It's not there.
He left.
Okay, and Pat.
Yes.
Good, thank you. Alan, Genevieve, yes. So it passes.
And I don't think we're going to have time to go through the entire long range plan right
No,
now.
we're not. But I want to get feedback in terms of let's see. Let's think of the best way to do this. Because remember, we have a meeting with Desi.
Yeah, I would say, this long range plan didn't go out
Right.
until
I didn't
very
have
late. And
20
I didn't
pages.
finish reading
yeah,
it either.
and I think we should just, if people find glaring comments, to email them to me directly. We can't, do serial communication, but just email them to me directly. And if they're kind of grammatical things or clarifications, I think that can be easily corrected. And then anything that's, maybe substantive that is, a larger issue, I would say, give Alan a call. He may be able to explain it, or you can have a conversation. He can take notes, and then we can come back and bring it to
Well,
the whole board.
here's my suggestion. The 22nd, next Thursday. That's the only agenda item because we have a meeting with Desi on the 26th. And I talked about, I'd like the planning board to put their eyes on it, look at it, give me some feedback before we meet with them on the 26th. So if we have a dedicated meeting and people do what you talked about, then they can take a vote the committee can take a vote to bring that to Desi, and then we can finish up. You know, the spring is not that far away. And when I think about Berniston having their town meeting sometime in April, I really want to do everything we can to get this done. So I would like to have a meeting on the 22nd.
Well,
Doesn't
Alan,
Northfield have theirs in March?
I would please, can we stop talking about the annual town meetings? This is not going to be voted at the annual town meeting. It
I
is,
know it's going to be at a special
so,
anyway.
so don't bring it up because just say
Okay, well,
spring
what
is
I'm bringing
coming,
up is the
May and
meeting.
June is coming. But you know, an annual town meeting this is not going to be on that. It's going to be a
Okay,
separate-
Greg, I'm
Please.
bringing up, we have a meeting with Desi. We need to get the input before we have a meeting with them.
So what day were you saying, Alan?
I was hoping next Thursday, and this is the only agenda item. You read it, you get
Okay.
your comments to Greg. And we just
Okay.
pull this on the screen and we get your feedback so that I can include all that feedback in it. So I can then send it to Desi on Friday. And when we meet with them on the 26th, we can have our feet on the ground and we're off and running.
Okay.
Next Thursday's fine with me.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, my other recommendation is if we're going to meet on this, I can call it up as a Google Doc. So if you want to just take your notes, as opposed to me having to have notes come filtering in, we can just do it all at once. You know, unless you have a lot of them, you want to send them to me ahead of time. If you write them down, just say page 7, paragraph
Okay.
2, we can just quickly do it in the meeting and do it all in one shot, as opposed to me having it, sort of trickle in.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
good. Okay.
And
So, are we assuming in this long range plan, I have to ask this question, that Warwick will be a part of it?
yes.
Okay.
And you can also assume that there will be language to say that if Warwick is not, the elements of the long range plan will continue with the exception of Warwick.
Yes, because the savings that you note would be considerably less if Warwick is not in it.
Yeah, and Karen, the problem for me in terms of the fixed in time, I looked at contracts and I looked at 3-year contracts, and to be fair, I tried to use the numbers there. I could go back and look at what the present operational costs are at Pioneer.
Mhm.
Superintendent's gonna be making 181,000. The business administrator, they just brought forward a recommendations of anywhere from 10 to 25% increases in salary. You probably know this
No, I
for
don't.
administration. And
Wow.
they're having a 10% increase in their assessment. But when I got into the weeds, I found out that the administrators are getting these really big increases in salary. So I was debating on, do I need to go back and really make that adjustment?
Yeah.
So I will take a look at that.
Okay.
All right, so I'll make some more amendments. And please know that while you're looking at what you have, I still have 2.5 pages left of what Desi would like to see in the long range plan. So for the next 4 days, I will be finishing up the additional things that they looked for. They started off, just pretend you're commissioner and put down what you think you would like to know. And that has turned into not that. All right.
Wow.
So we'll have a meeting on the 22nd, and then we'll do the other business and provide Dorinda some relief, I hope, I want to mention that Matt Lord kind of stepped forward. He didn't say yes, he didn't say no, but he's going to look at having someone help to help us in these last few months on our website in wording things clearly, answering questions. Someone who understands what you can put on a website as informational and not cross the line of telling people how to vote. So someone that has that skill set is what we'd be looking for. So he's going to look at putting together a request for quotes to do that. So I haven't heard from him, so that's probably good. I will entertain a motion. Gee, it's only 8:00.
I know.
To adjourn, if someone wants to do that.
So moved.
Nothing else we need to do on the agenda?
We need to know the name of your dog.
This is Lola.
Lola's your good buddy. I can
What Lola wants, Lola gets.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, Pat.
Yeah, and by the way, feel free in between, if you can have conversations and just sort of get a feel from select boards or those, your town leaders about, are they, did they think that's a good idea to have these two articles? We'll figure out how to make it clean so it's less confusing. But
Yeah,
I
well,
think explaining it in terms of the districts and not in terms of towns.
yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
I think that makes it
Much
pretty
better.
clear.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I need to
Well-
do a roll call vote. Jane, this is voting on to adjourn. Jane?
Yes.
And Alan is yes, and Karen O'Neill,
Yes.
and Steve,
Yes.
and Bill,
Yes.
and Greg,
Yes.
and Cliff, and
Yeah.
Pat.
Yes.
And let me just say thank you so much for still being with this in this process. And I wish you the best in the coming year. I hope it's off to a great start for everyone. We're going to get there.
Hang in there.
Yes. Slow and steady.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
All right.
Thanks for your work.
I
Good
know.
evening,
Thanks
everyone.
for
Yeah.
all your hours.
Your overtime.
I know.
Well, thank you for still being in this, and we'll talk some more.
Okay.
All right.
We all get our pay doubled for next